What is up, AG Nation? I'm Ben, and in today's video, I'm gonna rank the best free-to-play games from the RPG powerhouse Square Enix. And while I have you here, just a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button and turn on all notifications. I would love it if you did, and if you do, you will get your comment on screen like right now. And without any further ado, let's do this! Number 10. Dragon Quest Dai. Now that Dragon Quest of the Stars has shut down, Dai is one of the two games remaining from the saga that are free to play on mobile. It is set in the Dragon Quest universe with you controlling a team of 3 and battle endless hordes of enemies. You can upgrade your weapons, equipment and attacks as you progress, and there's also the option to team up with up to 2 friends or players from around the world for some sweet co-op. The game has a colorful art style, faithful to the saga, but do note that Dragon Quest Dai will be shutting down at the end of April 2023. So at the time I'm making this video, that's about 2 months left, give or take, if you wanna give it a try. Number 9. Final Fantasy XV Pocket Edition. As its name suggests, Final Fantasy XV Pocket Edition is a compact version of the console game by the same name. The game's major moments are recreated as best as the graphics engine of mobile phones allow, and while some demanding cutscenes are skipped, the audio is synced up almost frame for frame to the original game, which is impressive. You follow the story of Noctis and his friends, just like in the main game, but stripped down of the open world, its minigames, and side quests, which I personally think it was the right move, as the original took me well above 50 hours to complete. The Pocket Edition runs out around 15 hours, and the combat system has also been optimized for mobile. It's worth noting that only the first chapter here is playable for free. Number 8. Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. DFF Opera Omnia may have one of the longest game titles on mobile, but it more than makes up for it with the roster of legendary heroes and villains from the Final Fantasy franchise. They're coming together in an engaging story of powerful gods and a world in grave danger. I most definitely enjoyed putting together my team with some of my favorite characters from all FF games combined. It's also worth mentioning that if you're completely new to the Final Fantasy universe, Dissidia is very user-friendly, making it a great starting point to experience the saga's great plot, the drama, and intense action. The combat here is turn-based and it's simplistic with some strategy involved, but nothing too complex. All in all, Dissidia Final Fantasy has a lot to offer for both newcomers and curious longtime fans. Number 7. Dragon Quest Tact. We got Dragon Quest Tact out in the rest of the world after it amassed an impressive 10 million downloads in Japan. This is a strategic RPG that embarks you on an adventure to defeat an evil threat to the world of Orchestra. Tact is a full-fledged tactical RPG featuring a decent story, a compelling turn-based combat, and there's plenty of content here. You get to collect monsters and gather a powerful team using your best units. Of course, learning which ones to put forward depending on the enemies you're facing is key here. I love the Dragon Quest series, so I'm probably biased, but this is definitely a fun one. Number 6. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius War of the Visions. It's so typical of Square Enix to name 2 different games, Brave Exvius, and yes, it's confusing, but War of the Visions is its own separate game. They could have named it simply Final Fantasy Tactics Mobile, and that would have been so much better. The game takes place on the war-torn continent of Ardra, where a number of nations are now battling to gain control, and the story follows 2 princes from 2 different kingdoms. War of the Visions has been built from the ground up for mobile devices, offering intuitive touchscreen controls and missions designed for on-the-go play. The combat is turn-based and quite demanding from a strategic standpoint, and the graphics as well as the soundtrack are of very high quality. Definitely worth playing. Number 5. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. Brave Exvius is one of the longest running free-to-play Final Fantasy games on mobile, and that says a lot. The game is F2P friendly with a well-crafted, highly engaging story, lots of units you can summon, and plenty of events and collabs. The battles are turn-based and the soundtrack is absolutely top-notch, using a mix of Final Fantasy classic tunes and new original scores. Add to that the beautiful retro-inspired graphics mixed with 3D cinematic cutscenes, and you have a pretty good idea what's in store for you. Brave Exvius also has some fantastic crossover events, with the latest one for example that introduced new units from Final Fantasy VII Remake alongside new vision cards. To me personally, this is a no-brainer that this is easily the best free-to-play Final Fantasy on mobile to date. Number 4. Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. I'm a huge fan of the original game, and Octopath Traveler 2 just recently came out on consoles, making this a great time to dive into this fabulous universe for the best of bargains, absolutely free. Octopath Champions of the Continent is a prequel to the first game. You'll take on the role of the Chosen One and fight your way through ruthless tyrants in turn-based combat style, and with the game's massive roster of 64 playable characters, you can of course mix and match your team in a tons of ways, and it's the smart thing to do as many battles are unique in terms of elemental weaknesses, and having custom teams for each situation is the way to go. The game is also packed with NPCs that have side quests tied to their mini stories. Completing them will get you rewards, and you can also purchase items off of them or even hire them to help you in battle. Octopath Traveler is a visual love letter to the 16-bit JRPGs with some beautiful sprites and backgrounds. The soundtrack is one of the best I've heard in the past few years, and the latest update, which came out about a week ago, brings a new character to the mix, a new series of side stories, and a tournament cup with some big prizes up for grabs. Definitely worth playing if you ask me. Number 3. Echoes of Mana. Echoes of Mana comes as the latest game in the long-running Mana series. The game features semi-turn-based combat along with something that's completely brand new to the saga, and that is co-op. You can play either solo or with up to 3 other players joining you on quests. And for anyone wondering, the co-op feature doesn't impact the fact that Echoes of Mana is very much a story-driven RPG. This is the first standalone entry into the series since 2014 and brings with it an engaging story that is on par with the classics from the franchise, a co-op mode as mentioned, and action RPG combat where both old and new characters face off. This is a great action RPG that both new and all-time fans can enjoy. Number 2. Nier Reincarnation. With a graphical style that constantly shifts between 2D and 3D, 2D segments happening in the past where you explore the storyline, and 3D where you progress through each stage and do all of the battles. The art direction in Nier Reincarnation is very well crafted and the visuals look awesome, especially on the game's highest graphical settings capped at 30 FPS. There's also new content on the way for the second anniversary of the game, and while we don't have any specific details yet, the director Daishi Matsukawa did say that the story will undergo major changes and will be entering a new phase, so if you're on the lookout for a gacha RPG that takes its inspiration from games like Ico and Sky Children of the Light, you can't go wrong with this one. Number 1. Romancing Saga Re-Universe. Romancing Saga Re-Universe is something of a lost classic from the SNES era that I didn't get to play or even know about until the mobile release, but as they say, good things come to those who wait. Re-Universe features 8 selectable perspectives and classic turn-based combat. The mobile version adds a brand new dungeon to explore, new storylines, and a new Game Plus function adding even more replay value. And I have to say that this is one of the most free-to-play friendly gacha RPGs I have played recently. Collecting characters is fun and you can do dailies under half an hour, but there's also plenty to do for when you have time for a longer session. Highly recommend this one for the nostalgic JRPG fans. And that sums up my best free-to-play RPGs by Square Enix in 2023, but now I want to hear from you down in the comments. What is your favorite Square Enix RPG? Of course, as always, if you enjoyed this video, clicking the like button does help me out a lot and I would really appreciate that, and if you're new, consider subscribing because I'll put out new videos like this every week. Also, a special thanks to my YouTube members, and if you want to support my content, links are down in the description. You can also show some love to this video with a super thanks. Once again, I'm Ben, thank you Nation for watching, and I'll see you next time, right here on Android GameSpot. Stay epic!